Ursula K. Le Guin is an American novelist whose work mainly consists of set pieces in the speculative fiction genre, which means a narrative that departs from realism and shifts the focus of the scenarios, enhancing them with fantastic, futuristic, or supernatural elements, like magic or advanced technology. In Ursula's words, authors of this field are realists of a larger reality, who can transcend the horrors of agonizing boredom of daily life. Being born into a family of a writer mother and an anthropologist father, Miss Le Guin already had an upper hand on culture, society, and humanity's relationship with nature from a literary perspective. Ursula's vision on eco-criticism is deeply intertwined with ancient philosophy of Taoism that emphasizes living in harmony with the natural underlying flow of the eternal universe. Le Guin blends this belief of acting in accordance with the natural flow rather than against it, with ecological awareness and respecting the equilibrium of nature. In her words, the ones who hold the power in their hands should not act with a controlling and exploiting manner, because power gains any meaning or significance when it is used not to take, but to accept. An acceptance that only lies in the profound wisdom of the nature, like a river that has no saying where it flows, but goes through between the valleys and through the cracks, finding its own way. Our story, The Earthsea Sorcerer, is about a young boy named Ged, who has an innate ability in sorcery from birth. Protagonist Ged is a curious boy by his nature, thus he explores every nook and cranny of the island Gaunt which he lives on. After his village is raided by a foreign tribe-like empire of Kargad, Ged commits a great act of magic by surrounding the village with a thick fog to deceive and ambush the enemy warriors. This act does not go unnoticed by the local archmage Ogion, and he decides to take Ged as an apprentice. While living with Ogion and learning how magic actually works, Ged soon grows impatient because his master Ogion refuses to use magic to complete simple everyday tasks. Young apprentice wants to learn as much as he can, as fast as he can. In a moment of recklessness, Ged recites an old spell that unleashes a dark, terrible force that almost destroys him. Ogier, seeing his pupil's impatience and frustration, decides to send the boy to the great school of magic in the island Rourke. While studying magic in the island of Rourke, Ged gets taunted by a boy named Jasper and is challenged to a duel. The boy dares him to summon a spirit from the land of the dead to prove his craft. Ged therefore tries to do so, but instead of a soul, a horrifying black shadow creature emerges from the spell and attacks him, causing horrible wounds. After a healing process and years of lecture, Ged decides to learn and understand the shadow that still runs loose somewhere in the world and stalks Ged. After a long journey of pursuit, Ged catches the shadow while traveling in the open sea and realizes that the creature was his own shadow that split from him when he cast the spell. Ged then grabs a hold of his shadow self and calls him by his own true name, Ged, and becomes whole once again. Le Guin's Earthsea Sorcerer is an anti-anthropocentric saga that brings a more Eastern approach to environmental ethics. In Earthsea, the definition of magic is a bit different than how it is generally perceived in most fantasy work. In order to control, change, or shift something, you have to learn its true name, spoken in a forgotten tongue. For example, turning a stone to diamond is easy for a prominent sorcerer, but is it wise? Master Changer, a powerful wizard who teaches at the Rourke Island, tells to Gad, "You must not change one thing, one pebble, one grain of sand until you know what good and evil will follow on that act. A wizard's power can shake the balance of the world. That power, it must follow knowledge and serve need. To light a candle is to cast a shadow. These lines correlate with the second and third principle of deep ecology, which implies that humans has no right to utilize nature and reduce its richness and diversity beyond to satisfy vital needs. Spellcasting works in a symbiotic way in this novel. In order to fill a ship's sails with wind, one must learn its true name, and direct the force only to release it after using the world's inherent power. It is the ethics of to do or not to do that holds the equilibrium in its place. If a wizard toys with his power for trivial needs, whole world will be swallowed by the sea. The character Ogion, the first master of Geth, holds utmost importance in the sense of eco-criticism. Ogion's first great teaching is to admire each being as it exists. Ogion is a simple man who speaks seldom, eats little, and sleeps even less. During their first journey, Ogion points to a small plant and asks Ged its name. Ged answers, "Fourfoil, master." "What is its use?" "None that I know of," replies Ogion, and continues. When you know the fourfoil in all its seasons, root and leaf and flower, by sight and scent and seed, then you may learn its true name, knowing its being, which is more than its use. What, after all, is the use of you, or of myself? Is Gaunt Mountain useful, or the open sea? Ogion went on a half mile or so, and said at last, "To hear, one must be silent." This way of thinking can be interpreted and connected with the first principle of deep ecology, which says every being is valued by its own existence alone, not by its use or utility. Our hero gets interaction with his own shadow, teaches him the ethics of using his own power, therefore accepting the shadow back to become whole. This is a metaphor for one restoring the balance between human and nature. Balance within oneself is of no less value than balance in the world. A man without his shadow is not truly himself.